Hello, hello. Okay, so welcome, Clutter-Free Family YouTube. We lost sound for you guys, but at least I recognized it before. We were like halfway through, and then I recognize it like it's happened in the past. I know now to check our sound and everything. But anyway, we're grounding, we're centering, we're coming into the body, we're tapping into love, into that heart space that really is, I think, the way to guide yourself in this world. I was just on a call the other day, and my advice was to lead with your heart and let your inner peace guide you. And that's what I think I mean, right? When it comes to writing your soul in your body. And I think it's connecting your mind and your heart, right? Your head and your heart. Like your head wants to do one thing, your heart wants to do another. But like when those two are together and on the same page, things are just that much more pleasant and clear. And yeah, definitely forward moving. And so if you feel it for whatever reason, maybe you're stuck in love, or you're not feeling very lovable, or you're not feeling loving, then I invite you to spend some time with yourself and romanticize all the things about your life, all the things about you, and focus on the things that you do immediately love about yourself. Don't try to harp on or pick out things that you don't love about yourself and then try to turn them to stuff that you love about yourself, because that's going to be backward. It's going to really jar the energy. And you want to allow the energy of love to flow. And really, you have to, in a situation where you're not feeling lovable, not feeling loved or loving, you want to be the love in the situation that doesn't feel like it's there. So you want to feel the love and allow it in. So breathe in everything that you can think of that you're grateful for about yourself is one way to, give yourself a lot of love. And as we enter into this Valentine's weekend, it's very cool. And I want to say it here for the YouTube stream that in Finland, because, it timed out here. In Finland, they call it Friends Day. And so I thought that was really cool. So they celebrate friendships in Finland on Valentine's Day, which I think is very appropriate. I mean, aren't any form of love, isn't any form of love appropriate to celebrate? There's Galentine's Day, right? Celebrating your girlfriends and being out with the girls, and just loving single life, right? If that's where you are. And even if you're not single, really loving on the fact that you've got great girlfriends is something to truly celebrate, especially right now. I personally, my husband and I in the past, we haven't celebrated Valentine's Day on the day of or tried to go out, because it's madness. So I don't think, no, I'm sure when I was younger, I'd go out on Valentine's Day. And when we were dating, we would Valentine's Day, where it's just madness and reservations. You have to call weeks in advance and find the place that you want to go. And, you just have to really be inspired to deal with that kind of mayhem. But it's also romantic, especially if you can pick a spot that you really want to go to and just make it a thing, make it a big deal. That's also romantic. But then so is sitting at home and making dinner together and talking and sitting down to a good meal at your own table. That's very also romantic. I mean, really, to each his own. But anyway, so yeah, all love over here. But yeah, so we want to I just wanted to call that out because we are, entering that season. But we'll start with a mom FAQ. And this one comes from, I think it's Jacqueline. Yeah, Jacqueline. So Jacqueline watched that movie, All Her Fault. So of course I had to watch some of it to get some understanding. I had to do what do you call it when you survey the land? You kind of just get your bearings for a question. So I had to watch it because the question is, how do you find the right support when you're building your support network? And so what I know about Jacqueline is that she watched my masterclass that I put out last week or this week on Tuesday. So if you haven't seen it, check it out. It's free to watch. And it talks about building your support system as a mom. And in the movie All Her Fault, we see a breakdown of the support network that these women, these really powerhouse women, have set up as, who goes to pick up their child from school. And yeah, something goes terribly, terribly wrong. I didn't finish it, so I don't know the end, but it's intense, and it really touches on a lot of emotional triggers for mothers, because obviously we want to do right for our kids. We want to keep them safe, protect them. We do our best to scout out the right support, the right nanny in their case. And these women have these nannies pick up their kids, and they go with companies that apparently vet them out. I know of one particular nanny network called care.com, and I think anybody could get around some of the things that are in place and lie on their application to become a nanny on care.com. And that's not the service that's, talked about in this program or in this show, but it's reminiscent of that idea where it's like, you go to the nanny website and you pick a nanny, you interview them, you trust that the website or the company that is, it's kind of like an Upwork or something for nannies, that they've done their due diligence to vet these nannies, right, with the background check and all that stuff. And so these nannies are put out there, and you go you do your interviews, and you hire them on. And that's what happened with these particular mom, the two main characters in the show. They hired these nannies from, that network. And one nanny was not honest. And so completely lied, right? Completely fraudulent, with name and everything. And yeah, things go terribly, terribly wrong. And so what you feel for this mom, well, is it a spoiler if I say that her son was taken? So we're seeing this mom go through immediately, from the first scene. She doesn't know where her son is. And she's come off work. She's expecting it to be any other day where the nanny has her son and he's at home, or he's on a play date in this case. And it's not the case. He's not in any play date, and he's nowhere to be found. So yeah, you just kind of feel, you're going through the motions with this family as they're like working with the police and this investigation and trying to find them. And it is tumultuous and nerve-wracking. And yeah, I get it. How do you find proper support? Because if support, like the way we're doing business as mothers, is to hire support, hire help. We can't do it all alone. I said in the masterclass, we're not supposed to do everything. We weren't meant to do everything. Even in the old days when we had villages and people who had roles and specialties and positions in place within this kind of communal structure, they had, you weren't doing everything. You definitely weren't working the schoolhouse necessarily, as a mom. You sent your kid off to the schoolhouse, and you went and prepared meals or whatever your role was, right? And so everyone has their role. And you just trust that everybody's rising to the challenge of their role in integrity and honesty and transparency. And we're all being honest. So then, we expect you to be honest. And so there's that trust that has to be there, right? For anybody to be hired, anybody to be put in a position that is overseeing your child. We're trusting our teachers every day, and we see some reports where teachers aren't even, always to be trusted. Some issues there with teachers, and even just like the little step over the line of staying too late in a classroom with one student by themselves, and it's no thanks. No thanks. I don't want you in a classroom by yourself for a long time with my kid. I don't know what's going on in there. Let's always have some type of witness or some other kid there, like buddy system. Anyway, it's very easy to put your trust and faith into somebody and feel like you've done your due diligence, and it's not necessarily coming to fruition that you have somebody trustworthy in that place, in that position with your child. And so it's pretty intense. And honestly, when so I got her question, I was thinking, okay, well, let me watch this. Let me see kind of what the worst case scenario is, because that is the worst case scenario. You trust your nanny. They're going to pick your kid up from school and your kid goes missing. And the nanny is nowhere to be found, and the nanny can't be reached, and her phone is disconnected. So was it a burner phone? What's real about this person? And you know, I think so. The show's called All Her Fault, and I think it's triggering, right? It's all her fault, because immediately in the first episode, you see that the mom is getting questioned by the police. And there are questions that you'd be like, oh my gosh, she didn't do that. She didn't do that. She didn't do this. She didn't do that. Well, okay, that's why it happened, but I mean, even if she did all those things, even if she did make sure, called the references, FaceTimed them instead of just called the references of the nanny, if she went to go see where the nanny lived, whatever she could do, right? People could still get around. Like, if you're a con artist enough, you'll find a way. There's, like, for instance, if the kid's going on a play date, don't you want to see the house they're going to be at? Don't you want to meet the mom? Don't you want to get like on a call and make sure that this is actually happening, not just rely on a text message conversation where it's like, okay, play date set. Okay, this is what's going to happen. Boom, boom, boom. How many of us are really relying on text messages nowadays? So it's very tragic, because we do rely on text messages, especially busy women like these. They work Wall Street, they're in finance or wealth management. And I think the other mom is in publishing. And yeah, they love their jobs. This is their those two, I think it seems like they run their own businesses, and they have partners, but they run their own businesses. And yeah, they can rely on their partners when it's like, okay, early day for a kid, I can't make it to that meeting. What can you do? And there's a lot of reliance on their partners. And then their partners also kind of like not wanting to step in and cover the where the mom can't be. And so you're feeling a lot of the angst with the mom, can't rely on my husband, can't rely on my nanny. What do I do? Can't trust my husband because you lied to me about this particular date that came up in the investigation. And so who can I even trust you? I mean, it's like, obviously, cinema, we love how they just up the ante with problems, and they stack them. And it does feel like that, right? When you're kind of going through a situation, when it rains, it pours. And so how do you find the proper support necessary to help you take care of your child, and in the way that you want to take care of your child? You want to have the best of the best for your kid, and you want them safe and protected. You want them home every night. You want to, obviously have them for the rest of your life and them to have a long life. So yeah, it's touching. Like I said, I haven't finished it. I will finish it. I'm eager to finish it because I want to see what happens. And but it is enough to kind of open up the conversation. How do we trust our support system? What do we do? How can we get it into place? And honestly, I think it's a very case by case scenario. I think we have to do our due diligence. I know we get busy, and even right now, applying for schools for next year. So next term, 26-27 school year, that's a lot, right? Do you want to apply to schools that you haven't toured yet? I personally don't, but you do. And then, when you get accepted or you win the lottery or whatever it is, then you can go visit, right? You can make sure that this is the place that you want your kid to go. And you do your due diligence. And what you think your due diligence really requires. But I remember looking at a school for my oldest son, and I immediately was just getting bad vibes all day long. And I'm just like, I know this is like kind of the fallback school, but how could I send him here? The trying to put a call into the principal, never returned. Trying to schedule a tour took forever. Until one day I just showed up and I was like, I'm here. I've been trying to schedule a tour. Can you just show me around? And I was able to get it, make it happen. Just show up, and demand it. You're a mom. And schools cater to parents. And so really, and teachers, right? They cater to kind of the dynamic there. They want to make sure the teachers are happy and doing their job and following the rules and being above board. And then they want to make sure the parents are happy. Otherwise, they'll pull their kids out. And what will happen to their funding, or what will happen to their reputation, things like that, right? So they want to please us. So I think you have a lot of pull as a parent to walk in and kind of demand some type of follow through when it comes to your child and their well-being. And the cool thing about in the show, it seemed that they were really on it. They knew who picked up the child at pickup, and that, and they also knew that it was approved. But see, this is the problem. It wasn't approved by the mom, because I guess it was. She did probably say that it was going to be, she had a play date with this particular mom, but the nanny of that mom picked them up. And so I feel like in the school my son's at, they wouldn't have allowed that unless I signed off on that name as well, that nanny's name as well. But I think, the front office could have been like, well, you're the nanny and you're approved to pick up this mom's kid. So then if you're having a play date with this other kid, then it's probably approved because you pick up that kid. And so I don't know, see how the gray areas get really gray at times, and it gets murky. And then it's like, well, whose fault is it? And the interesting thing is all her fault, the hers in that, there's a lot of hers that people are feeling guilty about. Like, it's all my fault. Like, I'm the her. That's all her. That's kind of in that title. You're kind of thinking like, oh yeah, it's all her fault, or it's all her fault. And even like, as I watch it, I'm not really ascribing blame to anyone, because again, I didn't finish the movie, but then we all make mistakes. I think when it comes to our kids and our lives and balancing everything, it's a balancing act of like everything I have to do for my business, everything I have to do for like my home life, everything I have to do for my kids and their well-being and then their well-being and their schooling. Like it's not just health and meals and doctor's appointments. It's what tomorrow is Valentine's Day for the kids. So they're celebrating that. So they're going to have a little party at school. So you've got to send them with snacks and Valentine's grams. And, you got to pack all that and make sure that's all good to go. And here's where I dropped the ball. I dropped the ball in trying to please other parents. And if my kid is okay with this particular Valentine gram, that's what we're doing. If you love what you're giving your friends, that's where it's at. That is important. We're going to go with that. Because if I go above and beyond because I want to, and I want to be known and called out and known as the good mom because I made these or I made these bags, which are really cute, by the way, when moms put these bags together. I'm not that mom yet. Maybe when my kids are older and they want that, let's do it. But already moms are really good about, for their kindergartners, making little bags of all these treats and stuff. We do the goodie bag thing for birthdays. I don't do it for every holiday. But anyway, so it's really sweet, right? It's thoughtful. You kind of think like, oh, that mom's so sweet, or that kid's so sweet. And, you have that kind of touching moment, and then you move on. And it's the move on part for me that makes me so inclined to just be like, this is just another day. Let's definitely show our friends some love. Let's have something to give them. But if it's going to take me kind of way out of my routine and my ability to be present with my kids, my ability to handle it all, everything that I've got going, I'm probably going to skip it. I'm probably going to skip the extra because for me, what's extra is making the phone calls, I need to make, getting on FaceTime, calling around, visiting references if I need to, or not leaving my kids alone with the nanny until I really trust them, or until I have done a little bit more to vet them out. Uh, because I think, yeah, in this day and age, especially with artificial intelligence now, I saw an ad the other day where so AI is now in our chat GPT feeds. And so ads are going to start coming up in our, whatever you're using for your AI tool. You might get some ads. So ads are going to kind of start weaving themselves into our results. So we'll do a search, or we'll type in a inquiry or something, a question, and then they'll spit out an ad. I mean, they could, right? Why not? Why, depending on the owner of that, the application owner, whatever founder, whatever their direction is, or however they're using AI, they can spit out an ad. So you could get results that you think are accurate, but it's actually an ad. It's advertising to you. It's pitching to you. So, and marketing and media, the two hand in hand, are very manipulative. They're very, and I mean, that's just is what it is. It's the nature of the beast. They're they're persuasive, right? Obviously, it's a capitalistic agenda to make money, right? And to pitch your offer and make sales and that kind of thing. That is the name of the game for anyone in business, right? So we have our products or services, we're putting them out there. You say yes, and we have an exchange. There's that transaction. Now you have this brand in your life, or you're working with this brand in some way, shape, or form, right? That's kind of an agreement that you've come to, that you've accepted this person into your life, right? And you've given money, you've given of your hard work, right? That you earned this money, or whatever you think about money. And it's like, that's what I'm giving to you. And I'm letting you into my life, right? I'm buying a space into your world, and you therefore are making space in mine. And it's a very deep way of putting it, but it is true, right? And so with AI, it's like, anybody can really start to weave their way into your life and be completely fake. I mean, don't we already know about this with catfishing? I mean, catfishing, you're dating somebody, and that's like, isn't that so intimate as well? And you are, I personally was catfished, so I know. And so it's like you are letting this person in and you're trusting them. And despite kind of all appearances, like you are just in it. You just know, I believe this person, or you want to believe so bad that you convince yourself that, oh yeah, this is right. Everything's right about this, even though it's really wrong. Everything's wrong about it. Red flags everywhere. And you're just kind of like, okay, turning a blind eye to all the red flags, because you want it to work, right? And I think in the position of these moms, or any mom hiring a nanny, when I was hiring a nanny, you are in a way really hoping that it works, right? That you find somebody fast, that you're not going through these interviews one after the other, these trial weeks where you bring them on for a couple days and you have them work with your child. You see how the rapport is. You see if they're natural, if they are fit in your home, if they do what you want them to do, right? And they don't complain, because that's it. I mean, geez, imagine if they complained, or if they had some sort of like, you're already kind of throwing out the vibes that you don't want to do this. You don't want to be here. So I'm definitely not going to bring you on, because then I'm going to have to find somebody else in a week, or I'm going to have to hear like that this isn't working for you, and have to like bend my will to yours when I'm the one paying you. And I need to be finding the right fit. And clearly this isn't it. I definitely had a trial. We only did one day. Did we do two? I think we just did one day. It was very clear this particular nanny was just not cut out. One, to be a nanny, two, to be in my home. It was very, very weird. There were a lot of complaints, not about my house or my kids or anything like that, but about her life and her kind of circumstances that I could just already see that were going to come up later as a problem, and you got the inkling as you heard her talk that, oh, she's going to call out sick, probably not be reliable. And for me, I bring on a nanny because I need help. I need help with the kids while I have client calls or coaching calls, or I'm filming content or whatever, I would bring somebody on. So that's why I had the nanny. Then when the kids went to preschool, then it was about, okay, well then I'll work within the preschool hours. And then we let our nanny go. I talk all about this in a couple of videos back. I can't remember which, but I talk about my whole hiring process with my nannies. And I would say, so let's say, one, you don't want to go into it in any kind of energy of desperation. Just like with money, right? You don't want to be desperate for money to call it into your life. You're going to actually keep it away. That's the same thing with nannies or with hiring your team, with your support system. I would say that's a big one, is you want to have the energy of just, I'm open to finding the perfect fit for me. But if I don't, and until I do, I will do this. I will be available for my kids. I'll put this stuff on hold till they're napping or they're asleep or they're content, with independent play. I'll be working alongside them, or, I'll wait until dad's home and I will, pass the baton, and then I'll go do my thing, or things like that, right? You kind of work it out. Or like with the dentist appointments, okay, you take him to the dentist and then I'll actually be working during that time. So stuff like that. So you got to get creative, and it's creative on a daily basis. But here's the thing, calendars matter. Putting stuff in your calendar, especially weeks in advance, when you know something's happening. Immediately when I book, it's going on our family calendar. And immediately when I book my family's calendar is also tied to my work calendar. So if I do have a client call, it's X'd out as like Yvette is unavailable. And so should something come up, dad has to come in, right? He knows, oh, she's blocked out. This is important. Or, doctor's appointments, dentist appointments, trips, no school days. My son's out all next week, so we're planning stuff to do for that. That's like a President's Day week. They call it winter break at my kids' school, even though we just had a winter break over Christmas. But it's another full week of no school for him. And so, we're planning things around that. And I'm going to get help with my mom. I'm going to go to my mom's house for a couple days and have her help. And so they get to be with their nana. And so that's kind of, it's very, you make it work. You get creative on a daily basis. I always say, like, if you aren't getting the results you want, you're not being creative enough. And that, because you have the power to create your own reality. So like I was saying about Valentine's Day, excuse me, Valentine's Day, and not going kind of above and beyond on those things. They're not as sentimental to me as the people in my life. So I'd rather spend time on getting a birthday card and writing a special message, or getting the perfect gift, one that really fits them, because these are people in my life, right? And so that takes time. But if I'm spending time on everything else that isn't as important as that, a birthday of a family member, then I'm really eating up time that I could be doing other things. Or it really is a trade-off. I think everything we do, is a trade-off. It's we're saying yes to something. By saying yes to something, we're saying no to something else. That's what you have to kind of factor in and consider. So that's my rant on kind of what I choose to spend a lot of time on. So in the case of hiring a nanny, I spent a lot of time. It wasn't a desperate thing. I did a lot during nap time, because my kids had a good 2-hour solid nap, and really it was clockwork. I was fortunate that they napped every single day at this particular time. Until this particular time, I fit in my calls and I made it work. So with regards to the nanny, when we were doing the trial days, I absolutely used that time to do other things while they were together with my kids. Were they on camera? Absolutely. Did they know they were on camera? Absolutely. I would watch. I had my little monitor. I'd be watching, sound on, to make sure, the conversation was good and there was natural, like, building of rapport, and, they're good with kids. You want to hear the conversation and hear that they're patient, hear that they ask questions, hear that they don't plant ideas in the kid's head that you don't want, right? Or that aren't necessary. Like, why, what from this grown person do you need to be telling my kid about, unless it relates to something that's age appropriate, that they're developing anyway. If they're so the nanny we ended up hiring, who was great, honestly, she was really, really awesome, with the exception of there were some vacations that she like just kind of threw at me a month in advance. Really good about that. Really good about the timing, the time frame. Like it was like a week long. At one point it was like 2 weeks long, and then it's just like, oh, okay, well, thank you for the notice. 2 weeks long is a lot. I get it, because we were paying her through her vacations. So, we got to a point where when we reached our 6 months, we're like, okay, well, let's revisit kind of how your vacation schedule is. Thank you, definitely a month in advance, at least, if it's more than 3 days. And, we're gonna knock down, if your vacation time exceeds 2 weeks in a year's time, you're not getting paid for those extra days. I'm not trying to keep somebody from their vacation and do all that, but then this is a job, So if you're going to have unpaid leave, just know that, I might start looking for somebody else. Anyway, it got to that point, but she was great. She was really, really great. And I think I let her know that we were going to look to put the boys in preschool. And it was at that time she says, what time do you think you'll start enrolling them into preschool? And, you'll either need me less or you won't need me at all. And I gave her a time frame. And that's when she kind of like started pushing her vacation time out too. And then when she told me, hey, you let me know that the kids might be starting preschool on this day, she said, I have a 2-week vacation. Well, it was always 1 or 2 weeks, always, because she went out of town. But anyway, she told me about that date, and I was like, okay, well, that is a great time to have it be your last day, because, even if I need you, it'll probably be kind of like a one-off basis, weekends, date nights, things like that. And she was up for that. So it was like, we're going to keep you because it's great. We love you. And we want you around if we need you. And if you're okay with not maybe taking on something that is full time again, or something like that makes you really tired, another family, until that time you get another job, we'd love to have you weekends, some nights, and we'll kind of give you an advance notice. There was never really like, me and my husband, we don't have like a scheduled date night thing. I think we tried it and we both just kind of failed. We just both kind of either were watching TV on the couch and that was our date night, because it's kind of all the energy we had. We had really young kids and we were just trying to do that whole thing of like, okay, everybody says we need a date night, let's do it. Even though it really wasn't our desire. I think we would have probably chose to sleep. Anyway, just don't let anybody tell you what you need to do. Definitely check in with yourself. That's rule number 1. But anyway, the timing worked out where we were like, okay, you're going to go on that trip, and that's a great time for that to be kind of your last day full time with me. And then, we'll use you on occasion here and there. So that nanny, amazing. Like I said, amazing. She came after, I don't even remember, my husband found her, actually. I think he put a note, he put something out to his Facebook group, and he got her. I think she was referred by somebody else, and then he got in contact with her. And so that worked out really, really nicely, because it was a referral from somebody we knew. And so that was pretty amazing. And by somebody we knew, it was like extended. It wasn't like they hired her, but it was somebody who knew of somebody who had her or something like that. So the degrees of separation were close enough that it was like, oh yeah, let's check her out. And then of course, I called the references. We had her for trial period. She didn't really, I was always home with her. It was rare. I think I maybe left the house once on like a grocery run, but honestly, she was here to help me on my work days. So I was home, I was working. But yeah, I always had reservations anyway. I never really planned to have her in the car with the kids, taking them anywhere or doing anything like that. I would go with to the park. That was kind of the scenario. But she would take at her last house, her last families that she was hired by. She would pick up the kids. She would take them to the parks, right? She would do all those things. She'd go on walks with the kids in the stroller. Like, she did all the things. And she would show me texts of the parents, like writing back to her, how are you doing? Here's the picture of the, so I'd see several families still emailing or still texting pictures of their kids to her. And then I would see the exchange, like, oh, I miss him and that kind of thing. So I had a lot to kind of go on that felt, and then I met her daughter. I met her grandson. So things like that all started to kind of come into my world and my awareness that I was like, okay, she's very trustworthy. We Googled her house. I had a picture of her driver's license. We Googled her house to see, because I wanted to see like where she was together. We did it together. And I said, okay, so that's where you are. And yeah, I don't know. So anyway, that because the relationship was like opened to being trustworthy and the rapport really kind of was immediate. She was so amenable, right, to the role. You could tell she's been a nanny forever. She raised her own kids and then just became a nanny. So she was a natural. And so immediately, like when you have somebody that's okay, this could work out, then you have time to start to look at the other things and really do more due diligence around that. Whereas the other ones, like I was saying, how many before her, not only counting maybe the text messages and the back and forth and the emails and things like that with people that were prospective nannies, because that probably was maybe like 5 in addition to the people we actually had for trial runs. I would say we had at least 5. We had at least 5 trial runs. At least. I'm trying to think of their faces and I'm not going to worry about names. But let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, we had actually a good one. She was a student, an exchange student. And she, in her home country, was a nanny. And so she was like, let me nanny out here as I'm going through my schooling, and that'll be what I do. Anyway, she was cool. We had her actually a little bit longer than a trial run, but her hours conflicted with mine. So like her school hours conflicted with really when I would need her. So it wasn't gonna work. And then like finals, she kind of let me know that finals week would be hard to kind of keep the same schedule because she'd want to study. And so that's fair, right? When you take on a student, it's going to be a little bit different than somebody who's kind of professionally doing this and it's their day to day and they're committed to a 9 to 5, Monday through Friday or whatever. It's a little bit different. And so we had her maybe about a month, and then we started looking. I started trialing people on the days she wasn't here, and then that's when we kind of started to move into someone else who could actually commit to full time. And then we looked at trial run. I started just stacking my trial runs one after the other, and then I would say about 4 or 5 trial runs later, we found our nanny, who my son called Yaya. So yeah, anyway, it's a process. It's definitely commitment, a time commitment, an energy commitment, a money commitment, right? You're paying them for these trial runs. You want obviously to pay them for their time. It's valuable. So, you want to do all that. We got a few through care.com. I want to say that's where the 5 trial runs came through care.com. And then the one we actually chose was like a referral. So that felt immediately better. And so anyway, that ties into like this idea of the movie or the show, the limited series, All Her Fault, and where this mom maybe did skip a few things because she's so busy. And I think we do, right? We get so busy that we might cut some corners and put a play date with a mom we haven't really met even though these particular moms met, it was like something more sinister with the nanny that happened. So, you want to know the mom. You want to, I think, want to know even what the house is like. And in fact, I would probably set up a play date before any play date. I don't know that I would really have any play dates under 7, 8 years old. I was going to say 13 because that felt even more comfortable. But I'm like, okay, let me not. Maybe slumber parties are good. I went to slumber parties, and they were fun, and it's good. It's really good fun. But my mom dropped me off. My mom sat around with the parents for a while before she left. So that's what I would do. I would definitely have a play date where I'm there at the house where my son would be going again for play dates without me. I would definitely want to know the parents. I would want to know what's the typical routine at this time of day when the play date would be, what snack look like, how childproof is this home, who's coming in and out, what's the energy like, is it safe, are they on a busy street, do they play it in the front yard or the back, is it gated? Yeah, you can tell I watched Dateline. So yeah, I've seen some things that I'm not too keen on the idea of like, oh yeah, just run down the street and go to your friend's house. I feel like my mom is a total, she was overprotective in that regard. Like she watched a lot of true crime with us, and well, not with us, but as we were growing up. And that informed all her decisions on what we were allowed to do and what we were not allowed to do. And then I had close cousins, so my age. And so that was more my play date. My play dates were more cousins than they were like friends from school. Even though those happen too, but I mean, on a regular basis, I was with my cousins, like on a regular basis, every weekend kind of thing. I was with my cousins. Because I'm the youngest, and so my sisters and my brothers were doing their own thing. They didn't want anything to do with me tagging along, and so I definitely had found my own way with my cousins and my friends from school, from elementary school. So yeah, I had a great childhood, great upbringing. I felt safe. I felt looked after, and honestly, I went to a private school, so I think there was a lot of trust kind of built in there too with the moms and the families there. A Catholic private school, so I think there was like a lot of trust my mom had, with these families. And then plus, think about it. You're going year after year with the same families. You see them at every assembly. You see them at every awards event. You see them at every graduation or every promotion, right? Everything or that families were invited to, you see the same families. And so you start to trust these families, and they feel like your family. And it's just this extended big ball of family. And that's how it was. Because like me and these 7 other girls grew up together to the point where now, what's the craziest thing is we are still getting together now as adults with our kids who are the same age. We all kind of started late in having kids. Not all of us, but what's funny is the ones who started earlier and have older kids turned back around and had younger kids. And so we all have kids the same age. And not everyone, maybe 2 girls don't have young kids, but they still come around. Like we're still those girls like from elementary school, still getting together and having kind of like our once a month big reunion. And it really we try to do it that often. I don't always get to it because I'm not local to them, but every holiday, if I'm visiting my family, then I'm in town to see them. And so, we can make it happen like that. But yeah, so I would say that helps a lot with finding your support and setting up play dates and trusting kind of who's taking your kid when push comes to shove and you're in a bind and you need help because you're busy, you're taking calls, you're taking meetings, you are for these particular moms in All Her Fault, in that show, there's like big pitch meetings, right, for one of the moms, or there's like for wealth management, you got to find your next investor. You got to keep the money coming in. You got to keep your fund flush, and so you got to keep the networking. And so you see kind of some of that happen too. And I think we all do it, right? We all have the days where we get by being a little bit negligent of everything that has to do. Granted, she had the nanny there with her, and that gives you bring the support along, and yes, that frees you to do the things that you need to do for your career, your business. You bring the nanny along with you to run your errands or take your meetings, and the nanny's in the waiting room with your kid, and at least you're all together, right? And then there's the receptionist is waiting and watching that everybody's safe, nobody's leaving, until your meeting's done. Then you guys all leave together. I mean, these are the kinds of things that run through my mind. She was doing that. So she had a couple things come up where, she brought the nanny and her son along so that she can be free to kind of focus on that. And then you think about that other show that was really, really, kind of the same idea. Why am I watching all these? Expats with Nicole Kidman. Oh, such a good limited series. Like really, me and my mom watched that, and we were probably speechless for a few days. Like, could not fathom the drama of that that show and that family, that life. Anyway, same kind of scenario, hired help, busy mom, busy family, busy parents. So it's not like the busy mom has the dad at home. I think we don't always get, when the woman goes to work, you want the two, when we started to kind of move into workplace equality and labor rights and things like that for women, women started going to work, but then the men didn't stop going to work and stay at home. So then nobody's at home, because the single family income thing for a lot of people doesn't measure up, right, to where they want to live as far as the lifestyle they want to lead. So then it's the two parents at work. So then you do have to fall back on hired help, because nobody's at home. Nobody's able to pick up your kid at 2:00 unless it's hired help, right? Who's building their day around being available for that pickup and the rest of the day until you come home, right? So you're kind of like, you're finding the people that are going to start to be in your mix, you're creating your own village. And so that's what's cool about it. I think nowadays, how we have kind of disbanded, and these villages are fractured, right? The ones our ancestors had that are in our recollection, in the rearview mirror, this idea of this village, right? Where everybody's together, families, we're sharing loads, the shared labor, that kind of thing. That village is no more. Now we're curating villages. I don't live close to home. I know a lot of people who don't live close to their families. And so they are making a way on their own, husband, wife, kids, and they're doing what they need to do, hiring help, hiring nannies, finding camps, like camps through the summer vacations, through the winter breaks, putting the kids in camp so that they can keep their work schedule, because not every job is going to give you the flexibility to be out when your kids are out. And then, depending on what you're working on, you might not want to. You might not want to be off that week. You might want to keep the momentum going, or do what you need to do to finish the project and be part of it, right? Not walk away from it because, you have to be home. You kind of, I think you get creative, right? Like we talked about, you get creative around, okay, well, how can I make this work where I don't have to leave work? I can still do my work, maybe bring my work home or whatever. That's another hotline. A couple weeks back, we talked about how to still work while the kids are on summer vacation. It really is a planning scenario. It really is intentional. You've got to be intentional about how you're going to treat those longer chunks of time, not just a random sick day, but or a holiday, but chunks of time where the kids are out on vacation. What do you want to do? How involved do you want to be? What does that look like for you and your work schedule and your commitments, and how you want to, live your life and be around for your kids. So that's all balance. That's all balance, and it's fine and it's good to have your own ambitions outside the home, and also have ambition inside the home, like what you want your home to feel and look like and be like, and how you want your kids raised, who you want around your kids, the company you keep around them, the people you hire, right? All very important. And like I was saying, so there are times when it's like you do feel rushed into making a decision when it comes to the kids, because maybe you're so busy, or it's a busy time of year and there's a lot going on, or it's a busy season in your company, a lot going on, and you have to kind of go with the easiest path. And nobody wants that easy path to turn out to be completely wrong. So all we can do is continue to protect our energy, make sure that we're doing what we need to do to stay well, mentally present, mentally aware, mentally just awake, and alert, right? Available. I think all those are really important. I was saying one time, like, my phone's on do not disturb, but not for like my family or the schools or the doctors. Like, if they call, the call comes through. You can set that on your settings. If you don't know, on your iPhone, I personally have an iPhone. I don't know any other phones how this would work, but I'm sure it's the same, where you can choose your favorites and those can make it through a do not disturb setting on your phone. Like, if you D&D your phone, calls from these particular people still come through. And so if there is an emergency, you absolutely are available, to the point where, I'd probably, if I got a call while on the Clarity hotline, even though my husband knows to be available for those kinds of calls, I suppose if his call came through, I would have to probably take it as an emergency. But these are the kinds of things. Like, so we talked about the calendar. Everyone's got to be on the same page. So you've got to trust that your calendar is accurate. You put start and finish times on that calendar. You put the location where you're going to be on those calendars. You've got your location on with your family. When the kids have phones, they're on Life 360 or whatever the new app is when it comes time that they actually have a phone, or on their iPad, things like that. Trackers in their jackets. The awful thing was, so in All Her Fault, the tracker that the mom put on her son was disconnected because it was thrown out at the school and crushed, I guess, by a car, but intentionally, right? Is what we're to assume, intentionally thrown out of the car, and the kid was taken away. So, not fail-proof ideas, but all great ideas. You kind of do everything you can think of to protect your kids, keep them safe. I personally, like with the tracker in the backpack, I don't get that. I think it needs to be on their person, but then where do you put a tracker on their person that's going to stay? I know one mom in particular who can sew, so she can sew little pockets on the inside of the pants, and so she can put a tracker. But man, you really got to be on it and not forget that the tracker is in there when you do laundry. It has to be part of your routine to every single day take that tracker out, make it available for the next day's pants, have a pocket sewn into that pant, put it in, right? So a lot of times, I think that's an energy of fear for sure. And I say this with a grain of salt. Trust me, I'm a mom of 2 boys who I cannot imagine anything happening to them. Like, I will die. But it's done in desperation. It's done in fear, right? Sewing the pocket in the pants, and putting the tracker. But I mean, it's also smart, right? It's like, who are we to judge that very smart move? If she's got a system down and she's taking the tracker out and doing the thing every single day and never washes it by accident, never ruins it, always keeps fresh batteries, and doesn't mind the EMFs near her kids' bodies, also a thing, this young, for sure. That's a concern of mine. But yeah, anyway, It's just batteries. Maybe it's not that bad, but it is, right? Because it's like Bluetooth. But anyway, my point is that's kind of done out of fear. And as much as we can live in an energy of fearlessness, I think is more conducive to us living without the need to be fearful. I do, because I do, right, believe in manifestation. I do believe in self-fulfilling prophecy. I do believe in the law of attraction. I do believe the energy you put out is what you get back. So there's kind of a fair amount of fear mongering and subscribing to fear-based rituals and routines when it comes to the kids that I think lend themselves to kind of bringing that reality. As gross as I feel saying that, I think it's true. And I think when we do err on the side of trust and belief, and we know God has got them, right? They're safe. And we put out the energy of them being safe, that we're safe, that they're happy, healthy, whole, then I think we get that back. And so there is, right, like this balancing of even our own energy around the protection of our children. But yeah, anyway, all that to say, it's intense. The conversation is intense. Building your support network, absolutely necessary, especially if you're a mompreneur and you're balancing business and babies. It's very important, and that we do our due diligence, that we go above and beyond, that we do whatever we feel instinctually we should do. If we don't trust our instincts, that's kind of where it gets murky. That's where the gray area ensues, right? And the gray matter just starts to build and fester, because in our mind, we skipped a step, and that's going to eat away at us. And so that is what guilt clings to. It's like, it's cancerous. And so trust your gut, trust your maternal instincts. And if, as much as you can, follow through, even if it takes you away from something else, trust your gut. Make that extra phone call, ask the weird question, do the weird thing when it comes to your kids. And, I'm a mama bear, so blame it on that. I don't really care what you think of me. I'm going to do it, right? I'm going to do this. I'm going to say this thing. I'm going to put you on the spot. I'm going to ask the hard question that's going to make you feel like, oh, she doesn't trust me, even though we have this rapport and I've been doing this thing with you for years. I'm probably going to ask the thing, especially if you're not my family. If you're not my family and I don't know you since we were babies and I've seen you go through life as much as I've gone through life, and we've been in this together, I don't know you like that, then yeah, I'll probably have to put you on the spot, especially when it comes to my kids. And so just don't be afraid of that. Just trust your instincts. We've got maternal instincts, we've got survival instincts, we've got gut instincts that combine the two. And that's where the sensations come from. That gut instinct is like the pit of your stomach saying, oh, hold on, wait, what's going on? Let's just take a temp check. Let's just take a beat. What's going on? That's what that kind of sensorial instinct is, but it amounts to kind of like the combination of your survival instincts and your maternal instincts coming and just every other instinct you have, right, that you've honed through the years. The more we trust our instincts, really can't go wrong. Okay, that's a wrap. If you're interested in that mastermind I was talking about, or the masterclass and the mastermind, then I will put the link in the description below. And I'll see you next week for the next Clarity Hotline, Thursday, 12 noon Pacific. Peace. All right, YouTube. See you next week.